Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of This Is Me Attitude Podcast with me, Rachel Nelson, just a girl in her 20s, trying to figure this crazy life out and bring you along the way every single step of the way. And today is no different as we go into a very important topic. Hello, happy Monday if you are listening to me on the day that I release this episode. Happy first day of an amazing week. I truly hope that you find the joy in today, in this hour, in this week, in this month, in every little aspect that you can, because I have had a realization actually over this last weekend that I tend to not find the joy in things, and I just look at my to-do list and I'm like, oh, need to do that, need to do that, need to do that, need to do that. Oh, you're not having fun? Who cares? Still getting things done. And to where that it has not brought joy in any aspect of things. And this is not the topic that I want to talk about today, but I just felt called in this moment randomly to say, I truly hope that you can find the joy in this episode and in your day, and that becomes something that is important to you, because having joy in life is just very, very important and very good, and just has an overall better day and life because joy is amazing. With that being said, today's topic is, are you going to God first? Now, you're probably wondering, what the heck do you mean by that statement, Rachel? Because that statement just sounds kind of weird. What I mean by that statement is, when something goes wrong, when you have a crappy day, when you get a bad diagnosis, when you fail a test, when you are like, I don't know how the frack jack I'm going to make it through the next thing. Who's the first person you go to? Now, if you're like me and somewhat new to having an actual relationship with God, you probably have gone to every other person, place, thing than God himself, and then feel called back after you've gone to your best friend, or after you've gone to your mom, or after you've gone to your husband, or after you've gone to whoever it is, and you can feel God say, you should have came to me first, shouldn't you? And you're like, maybe. Probably. Yeah, that probably would have made things a lot easier, wouldn't have? Or maybe you haven't had those thoughts. Those are the thoughts that I've had. And I've realized now, the closer that I get to God, the more that I want to be in his presence, the more that I want to follow his word, the more that I do not want to sin, the more that I just want to be, again, in his presence and know that he is there for me and loves me regardless of what I do. And I will be having more podcast episodes about God's love, because it's very, very important. But in this one, it just really shows that going to him first really does change the game. He is life-giving. He wants to be there for us. He already knows everything that's going on. And that is something that has been hard for me to understand, but I also tend to laugh at myself because I'm like, I don't want to tell God this one thing. And then I'm like, he already knows, Rachel. Like, you might as well just tell him, because he's going to help you. He's going to move forward with you. He's going to want to hear about it. He knows it. Just spit it out. And I also feel like that is something that needs to be said on this episode, because maybe you are like me and you're like, but I can't tell him this. I can't tell him that secret. And I don't know how to do this. And I feel so much more comfort by going to somebody in person and being like, help me. Or my mom has always been the person that I go to, and she just knows how to help me and this and that, which you are probably 100% right. If you have a parent or a friend or somebody that's always been there that is helpful, yes, that is great. And I'm not saying that you should never go to them again and that you can't be in a relationship with them or anything like that. What I am saying is that have the first one you go to be to God. Have the first thing you do is to pray. And watch what happens. Watch how much closer you get to God. Watch how things just change in your life, and watch how great the relationship that you are building with God becomes. With all of that being said, I do have 3 steps that I have done in my walk with the Lord to go to him first. And another thing with all of that being said is, we're not perfect. There's going to be times when you're like, yep, I went to so-and-so and I should have gone and prayed first. And that's just life. That happens. I do that quite frequently. And then I sometimes can feel God be like, yep. Then I'm like, yep, we know for next time. So with that, let's dive into the 3 steps that I have for you. And I truly pray that these help. Okay, these 3 steps are blank, blank, and blank. That's it. The end. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to say the 3 steps that I have for you, and then I'll go back and explain them. Number 1 is keeping yourself accountable and or having someone else keep you accountable. Number 2 is seeing when I didn't and giving myself grace. Number 3 is writing it all out in a journal that turns out to be more like a prayer. And when I say these 3 things, these are 3 things that I have done and used in my life and in my walk with God, and it has been very, very helpful. With the first one being keeping accountable, I mean keeping accountable to not only yourself, but telling someone else in your life that you are wanting to go to God first before you maybe go to that individual person or go to anybody else. For me, my person that I do this with is my husband, because we live together and he's the one that I talk to the most. So if I come to him with anything, his first thing is, did you pray about it? Do you have any insight from God? And yes, sometimes when he tells me this, I do not like that response, because I'm like, I just want to talk to you. I just want you to hear me. But it's actually better when you have that person that truly does care about you and does keep you accountable. The second one, again, being seeing when I didn't and giving myself grace. For those of you that know me personally, you might be chuckling a little bit when I talk about grace, because I have a very, very hard time giving myself grace. I have been my biggest critic my entire life, and that is something that I'm actually processing through. But with that being said, I do know that that's part of the process, and I share all of this and be open and honest with all of you on the podcast because I want to show that I'm human, and I want to show that I'm not perfect, and I want to direct you back to God and His Word, because that's the one that is perfect. That's the one that does love you forever and ever and will be with you and wants to talk to you the most. So, again, let's give each other grace. Realize when you maybe mess up and don't go to God first, and say, okay, like I didn't do it here, but next time I will try my best to do it then. Or now I know for the next time I need to go talk to God before I need to talk to somebody, or I need to check in with my accountability partner of seeing if they can help me, and then having them be like, oh, well, did you go to God first? Number 3, as I said before, is writing it all out in a journal. For myself, I have a background in journalism, so I love writing, and I have kept a journal for a big chunk of my life, pretty much my entire adult life, and have really, really liked it. It has been very therapeutic in just getting things out, and I tend to write out my prayers to God, and that has been helpful in just keeping Him first, and to really go to Him first and to write it out, because no one else reads these journal entries. It is just me and God, and that has been the best part about it, because I can be completely open and honest and say all of the things and not feel like I'm getting judged at all, or not feel like, oh my goodness, this one person's going to read it and they're going to hate me. Oh my goodness. Because 1, they're never going to read it. 2, they're never going to read it. And it's just between you and God. So those are the 3 things that have been very, very helpful to me. And like I said, before I said the 3 things, I truly do pray that these help you. And I very much pray that anything I say in any of these episodes just brings you closer to the Lord. And I do feel called to say that if you were to ever listen to any of my podcasts and you're like, Rachel, I'm not sure about that, or I'm not sure about this, please, please, please go back to the Word of God and check it off of there. If you feel like it doesn't align with that or anything like that, then go with the Word. I will never, ever say that I take the place of reading the Bible or the place of God Himself, because that is not why I'm here on these podcast episodes. I am here to bring you hopefully closer to the Lord, and to just share my experiences with having my relationship with God, and just being able to share how much my life has truly transformed since then. Yahoo! Just like that, we're at the end of another amazing episode. I cannot say thank you enough for you tuning in, taking time out of your busy schedule to hear what I have to say about my faith, and hopefully it helps you in your walk with the Lord. And I would love to hear any takeaways that you've had from this episode over on Instagram at This Is Me Attitude Podcast. Take us over there. And until next time, never, ever, ever forget, God loves you.